Hey, book besties. Welcome to More Than a Book Club podcast. I'm your host, Leyna.
And I'm your other host, LJ.
And I have to say, we are talking about summer reads today, and this could not come at a better time. It feels like summer. I know some of the states are still, in school and they haven't broken for summer break yet. But we had this was our first full week of summer break.
Yeah.
That was very nice.
It was nice. And I'm just glad that today, on the day that we are recording, it's actually not too hot. Like the high is 85. We've got a nice cool breeze. Nice. Yeah, it's so much better. But we did have some hot, humid days already. And we haven't even hit June. Although, happy June on the day this releases.
Whenever we're putting this out there into the world, it will be June. So my work, at the end of the month, we do like a monthly box subscription thing. So my work is crazy at the end of the month. So we just finished up all of our box subscription stuff today, and I came home to record. And I asked LJ to do this a little bit early because my daughter wants to go to Michael's. So we have all these different little things going on, even though we're done with school. Mm-hmm. It's like there's still other things that we have to do, work and then taking kids places. And I'm sure you're doing the same thing, LJ. Mm-hmm. You almost have a driver.
Almost, not quite. Oh, yeah. She thinks that I should just let her drive. And I'm like, no.
That little thing called a license is important.
It is. It is. And yeah, I feel you on that there's still, she gets her license like the very end of summer. It's fine. Yeah. Oh, well.
You did buy her car, though. I don't think you've gotten to say that on the podcast.
No, I did. Thanks to Yaya, or Claudia, as y'all know her, she did buy my daughter a car, which she had bought my son a car too. And both times we got really lucky with knowing the people that we were purchasing them from. And so they gave us like really good deals. And I would say they probably match the Kelley Blue Book value, but if you're selling things on your own, then you can get a lot more. And right now, especially, which I saw that maybe the tariffs have been said that they're unconstitutional. I don't know all the details there.
Who knows? I feel like it goes back and forth every day.
I know.
It does. What they're doing.
It does. And so either way, right now, used cars are, the prices are going up. They are. And so we've lucked out buying them from individuals that we knew took care of their cars and that they're in good shape and not the worst mileage, for them to start out with. So
that's exciting.
So yes, she has a car, but now she thinks, okay, I got a car, so let me go ahead and start driving now. And no, but she does get to learn to parallel park on it, which is going to be handy for her driver's test.
Yes. And my son, he passed his test. I think he took it in February. He has a December birthday, but we waited mainly because he hadn't finished the driver's ed stuff.
Gotcha.
Fine. So he finished all of that, and he can parallel park. I still can't. I remember whenever I took my test, I got done with it. And we did parallel parking at the very end. And I asked the guy, I'm like, can I still pass the test if I don't do this? And he said, yes, but don't you want to try? And I said, nope, I need to know so I can pass it. And I didn't even try. Didn't even come close to lining things up or anything. And I still can't parallel park. And I told my kids, I'm like, you need to learn to do this because this has been a problem for me my entire life. And I kind of feel like maybe I should go down to the driving school and learn to parallel park.
Okay, I will tell you, with backup cameras and the technology we have now, it is so easy, which they don't get to use that on their test.
So Danny got to use his backup camera.
Oh, really?
Because I had been making him put a piece of paper up so you can't use it. And they were like, yeah, what are you talking about? You can use that.
Oh my gosh.
Are you kidding me? So, but he parallel parked like nobody's business. He could do it without a camera. He could do everything. So yeah, I was very proud of him.
Sometimes I get lucky and other times I look like I've never parallel parked in my life. So it just depends. Depends on the day.
So we're about to go get Danny a car.
Oh,
grandparents have given us some money to go. My mom and my ex-stepdad gave us some money, and we're going to cover the taxes and all that stuff and the title and then his maintenance for a year and gas. So that's kind of what we had said we would do.
Very nice.
So we're trying to find someone we know that wants to sell us a car, but haven't had any luck. But we've been looking around at some dealerships, and I think we found a couple that we're interested in. So
That's
just don't know when we're
exciting.
going to do it. We have to like actually go outside in the heat.
Yep.
Nothing is worse than buying a car. I'm sorry. There's just not.
No.
And especially buying a car in the summer, it's just not fun. Anyway, so that's kind of what's been going on in life. What have you been doing literary lately?
Okay, well, I've been doing some reading. Only read one book. I read a book this week since we last recorded. I read The Love Haters that we got from Catherine Center.
How did you like it?
It was really cute, and I really enjoyed the characters. It was funny. I laughed out loud a bunch of times.
I love that.
I was like, oh my gosh, a few times. Like, it was really cute. I will say it did get a little too self-help for me at times, but we kind of were warned about that with her talk and everything. And I do think even that being said, like, I think the message still was meant for me too, because it was kind of the part where she talked about learning to love your own body. And like, don't get me wrong, all that resonated with me, but there's a little bit more of it. So I gave it 4 stars. Like, I really enjoyed it. I would still recommend it. And I thought it was very cute. So it makes me excited to read her other ones, which, funny enough, we had been talking about her other books, and there was one that you said you didn't love, the
How to Walk Away.
and I was like, oh, I have some of her books. Well, so if we look over here, I guess I got to bring my mic with me. Where are they? Right here. I've got the ones I haven't read is What You Wish For and How to Walk Away. So I had gotten those from Book of the Month at some point.
Nice.
And I'm like, okay, well, I might have to read it eventually, although I don't know. We'll see.
You read The Bodyguard too, though, right?
Yes. Oh, wait, then I guess I have another one.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello, Stranger. I guess I haven't read that one. I was thinking
I have Hello Stranger, and I haven't read it yet either.
Okay, well, maybe we'll read that one together at some point
Someday.
because it looks really cute. So I read that, and then I'm still working through The Skeleton Crew by Stephen King, which has novellas and short stories. And I will say, just giving a quick rundown with the ones that I've read. I read The Mist because that's like a movie is based on that. And I skimmed through the movie. And I will say the movie ending, I think, is more Stephen King than the novella ending, which, okay, whatever. That surprised me though. And maybe that was his input that, like, okay, maybe I want to make it more me.
Yeah.
And then Here Be Tigers, but Tigers spelled with a Y. It reminded me, it took place in a school like a little kid. It reminded me of like having a very active imagination and scaring yourself as a kid. The Monkey, just prototypical King. That one has the monkey with the symbols on the cover of the book. That story, it's from that story. And it was creepy. Then Cain Rose Up was very terrifying. And you didn't really see where it was coming, but it was about a shooter, like someone that, like a mass shooter. And so it was very disturbing in light of today. Yeah. Mrs. Todd's Shortcut was probably one of my favorites. It either was my favorite or it ties for favorite. And it was a delightful Stephen King. And by that, I mean, there was creepy Stephen King stuff, but there wasn't like murder or anything scary. It just, I don't know. It was just a delightful Stephen King, if you can imagine that word being assigned to him.
I'm having a really hard time.
I know. I don't know how to explain it. It just, I don't know. What it reminded me of, I guess, is in Pet Sematary, if you've read it, like the part when they're going through the woods and it's like before you know anything really creepy or scary is going to happen, just that feeling of like there's supernatural forces and there's something strange about this land. And that was like the scariest part. And then The Jaunt, I don't remember what that says. I wrote very well done, and I'm stupid for not predicting the end.
Yeah.
The Wedding Gig was not his style, and there definitely was fat shaming, which I did not like. Paranoid was a chant, and it was creepy and also had animal death. Oh, and this next one, Word Processor of the Gods. That one might tie for my favorite. I feel like you shouldn't. You're not, maybe you are supposed to like it or not. I don't know. But either way, I liked it. Thought it was also a very like prototypical Stephen King. And then last but not least, I started Heartless Hunter on Kindle Unlimited. It is a fantasy duology, so there's 2. I just was scrolling Facebook and someone came up and said, I just read this duology. It's so good. I couldn't put them down. And so even though I don't know this person, I was like, I went to see if it was on Kindle Unlimited. And the first one is, the second one, unfortunately, is not. And I go to start it and I'm like, you don't even know this person. Like, this person could have horrible taste.
Horrible taste. They could like
But
Stephen King.
oh, ha ha. But I started it and I read 20% in one sitting, and it's really good. It's different than, like, there's not fae. This is about witches. And
Okay.
so I was like, it's different. And
Are witches making a comeback? I feel like I've
I
read
think
several
so.
books recently about witches.
You have. You have.
So
And I think they might be.
maybe I'm making it happen. I'm manifesting it into the world.
Yeah. But I like it so far. I'm sure the romance aspect is going to follow the same formula. I mean, we know, but
Right.
it seems like a more unique plot than what I've read recently. And so I'm intrigued and I'm excited to continue reading it. So, yay. All right. What about you? What's been up literary lately?
So I finished The Antidote, which was the one about the prairie witches, and I had
Yes.
my book club with Neighbor Books, and
Okay.
we pretty much all agreed that it was good and bad. Like, we all loved the writing. It was
Uh-huh.
so poetic. There were several times that I wanted to get out a highlighter and just like highlight passages, which
Okay.
I don't always want to do. It was
Mhm.
almost one that I wish I had on my Kindle so that I could go through and highlight really easily. But I did read that in the actual hardcover. But there were certain parts of it that I didn't like, but I don't even know if I can name them. Like, it was so weird, and we all had kind of the same reaction. So that was kind of a funky thing. I finished The Anxious Generation. I know you had said that you didn't want to read it. And I think most everybody in our book club had said basically the same thing. And I will say that it had a lot of information probably that we already know. This was just mostly the research. The things that I really liked was that it had some like to-dos. If you are a parent, here are some things that you can do to help with living in a phone-based world. And it was talking about living in a phone-based world versus being allowed to just go play in a play-based world. And so they were talking about that even for younger teens, tweens, and then all the way up to like high school age, that kind of stuff. So good. I had some good information. There's a couple of things that I'll take away from it and use. But I did feel like it was a little bit long to repeat the same stuff. I mean, granted, it did have some great information if you're really into statistics and numbers. And I will say that some of it I was like, oh, I feel bad for letting my kids have phones. But then the other part of it was, hey, you're doing a good job. Keep doing things and keep moderating stuff. And, but I think that overall, you've probably gotten everything you're going to get from it from that review.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
And I did make it. I'm halfway through Emma now.
Woohoo.
I found a character guide. I will say that did help. Pinterest had a whole bunch of them, but there's also a wiki on Emma.
Okay.
So, like, that has been super helpful just going through. And if I have a question, I can go reference that and see what they're talking about. But I am enjoying it. I think I told you that I had some books that I wanted to read that were just fun. And I started Finlay Donovan Digs Her Own Grave, and I read that within 24 hours.
Oh, fun.
And it wasn't a long book, but it was so fun. And I enjoy those little mystery, I don't even know what you call them. They're funny, they're lighthearted. So it was a great book to read. And then I started one that someone had sent us. And this is Susan Fletcher's Sea Change. And it's a YA book about, they did some gene editing. And so some kids were born with gills. And so they're kind of like mermaid people. I'm enjoying that. And I'll talk about this later when we talk about summer reads. But YA reads during the summer are phenomenal.
Yes, they are. Agree.
I think that is like the way to go. I still
Totally
have
agree.
the Love Haters on my Libby, and so I need to read that so that it doesn't run out, because while I have the physical copy, I want to listen to it just because I listen to books way faster.
I know you do. Yeah.
So we have a couple of interviews that's going to be really fun. But because of that, we have a lot of physical copy books to read.
Yes, we do.
As I said, I'm a slower physical copy book reader. I don't even know if there's a way for them to get you arcs of audiobooks. I wish that was a
I don't
thing.
know.
But so yeah, I have a lot of reading to do, and I have a lot of books for you.
Yes, you do, because they come to her, and I have a few. I feel like I have this one that's sitting here that
Yes.
you just read. Did you finish it?
I have not finished it, but I
Okay.
kind of put it on a back burner. And that book that she's talking about is, gosh, what's it called?
Forget the fairy tale and find your happiness.
Yes. And that was mainly because I have so many other books I have to read. So I'm still
Yes.
reading it, but and then we
Yeah.
have
Notes on surviving the fire, which this one
yes.
looks cool. Like I like the outside. It looks very nice.
And I think
So
that one was
that was the one that was sent to us by Penguin Random House, right?
yes.
So thank you. We are so excited to read it.
I'm very excited to read all of these. It's fun.
It is.
And I think you're a mood reader for the most
I
part.
am. So it's hard for me to have specific ones. That's why I kind of stopped reading the Anne of Green Gables books because I was like, I've been more in a Stephen King mood, and that is the complete opposite.
Which, okay, so at Neighbor Books, we were talking about favorite books and our 5-star reads. And the guy who leads it owns the bookstore. And he was talking about his 5-star read. And he was like, a 5-star read is Anne of Green Gables. And he was like, I know coming from a guy, that sounds kind of funky, but he was like, that book is just so good. And he said that he had started reading it with his daughter. And I was like, how awesome is that? And so we all had a bonding moment over how awesome
I
Anne of
love
Green Gables is.
that.
So that was really
Oh my
fun.
gosh, that's so sweet. I love that. I love that. Well, should we get started on our summer reading recommendations?
Let's get started. And these are books that I think when I think of summer reading recommendations, I'm talking about books that maybe are for me a little bit more lighthearted or maybe quicker page turners because I feel like the summer is such a mix of I want to read a book on vacation or I'm going to be at the pool with my kids and maybe I go swim for a few minutes and then I get out and go read a book. That's kind of where I'm at. I mean, not everybody can do that because they have younger kids, but my kids are teenagers and they just need a ride to the pool. But
Right.
I also like to go to the pool, so they're stuck with me. So those are the kind of the books that I put down. So I'm not sure what kind of drew your inspiration when you were thinking of summer books, summer reads.
Okay, so mine were more the take place around summer or I associate with summer. Now there's some that I've now deleted, but now I'm like, maybe I will bring back instead of some of these others, but that's okay. So I want to share my first one because it has a mini series or maybe a season 1 and then they're going to continue on coming out on Amazon Prime on June 18th. And yes, I'm talking about We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. And I'm going to read you what it says. I don't know if you've read it, but I'm going to read you what it says on Goodreads because it's very intriguing. And I wish I had my copy of the book in here because it's different on there, but it's equally intriguing. So it says, a beautiful and distinguished family, a private island, a brilliant, damaged girl, a passionate political boy, a group of 4 friends, the liars, whose friendship turns destructive, a revolution, an accident, a secret, lies upon lies, true love, the truth. We Were Liars is a modern, sophisticated suspense novel from New York Times bestselling author, National Book Award finalist, and Prince Award honoree E. Lockhart. Read it, and if anyone asks you how it ends, just lie. So I read it during COVID, and I remember, I think I thought it was a YA thriller, and it kind of is, but it's more than that. Like there is more to the plot than that. It is much more complex of a story. And I remember starting it and then I know at that time I was reading a lot of books in one sitting, but I read that one in just a couple of hours and it's one that I still think about. And I do want to reread it, but part of me is like, will it lose some of the magic? But maybe not.
I'm looking at it on Goodreads right now, and it won the Goodreads Choice 2014. It was like the winner of the Goodreads Choice Awards. I feel like it has to be a pretty popular book. Although, it has 1.25 million ratings, but it's only rated at 3.66.
Yeah,
but it won. So then I'm like, okay, so what's going on with that? It makes me I'm curious if that many people read it won an award. Maybe I do need to read it and find out where it lands.
Well, I'm wondering if it was overhyped because I read it, I'm pretty sure it was 2021, early in the year. I know that it was when I was still like, we would only have like maybe 10 kids max in our class. We had A and B days because only half the alphabet could come. And then, so I know it was during that time. So it could have even been in the fall, but I think it was very popular on Book Talk. And so it might have gotten overhyped because I'm pretty sure I heard of it from Book Talk. So yeah, so that comes out, the series comes out on June 18th. I'm on the fence whether I'll watch it, although I did love the first season of The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han, and then I knew it was coming, so I couldn't carry on.
Okay. That's a book that I haven't read, and I didn't watch the series either, but I have it on my someday to read list.
I will say, which actually I'll just go ahead and do another. That series is on my list. It was actually the next one I've listed here. And it takes place, the first book takes place in summer. The others kind of branch out beyond summer. It's not lighthearted.
Okay.
And it's about these two families that come together every summer. The moms and the kids come and stay at one of their beach houses for the entire summer. And then the husbands would come, or the dads would come out various weekends or stay for a couple weeks here. But they're, staying, I don't think they're from the same city. One, I think, is from, it's either Chicago or New York City. I don't know. But it's about these women have been close friends, I think, since college. And so there's just all these different layers. There's a beautiful friendship between them. Then one of them, their daughter, is totally in love with the older brother of the other family, but then the younger brother, but they're all like, the younger brother is her age, and then the other one is older. And the one that's her age has like been in love with her forever. And it's kind of like a coming of age story where you do see her start to see herself as beautiful. And then the complications of her feelings for both these brothers and then other bigger issues happening behind the scene. It's just, I think it's really good. I love the trilogy. It's, like I said, it is heavy. It covers a lot of stuff. And the first season of the show was adorable. Adorable. So I would even say more adorable than the book. So
okay.
maybe you just watch it.
Watch the show.
Watch the show.
I have enough books to read.
You have enough books to read. It was funny. Whenever that came out, I don't know if it was 2 years ago, or I think it might have been 2 summers ago, and the first season came out, I wanted to watch it. And I knew that Kaylee would love it. She refused to watch it with me and all this stuff. And then finally one night, I just decided to start watching it, and she came in and was watching it. And one of the boys comes on, because of course they cast very attractive people. And she's like, "Ooh, who's that?" It was so cute. She's probably going to be embarrassed if she ever listens to this, but she was like, "Who's that?" And so it was really cute. So
that's funny.
There were some good looking boys, good looking girls, all that.
So my first couple as well are YA books. And the Inheritance Games came to my mind right away as just a fun read that has lots of twists and turns and different things going on. But it's about a girl who basically has nothing, and she's told that she inherited money, right? But she has to live by these certain rules. I'm like 100% cannot remember right now off the top of my head. You probably remember more than me. But it's written by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And she just did a fantastic job. It's a whole series. And then it goes, because there's 4 brothers, I believe, that she has to go live with. That. And there's like some love triangles there, different little things. But it's not really so much about a love story. It's like, why did he give this money to her? What happened? And there's a family mystery that has to get solved. But it's a good series of books. I will say the first couple are really good. After I think the third, it started to meander a little bit.
Yeah, I only read the first 3, and I really enjoyed the first 2. But the third one, I was just like, meh.
And then I know it goes off into the boys' point of views and things like that. So if you really get invested into that series, great. And it is I think that's a good series that if you're at home with teenagers or even like tweens, they would like it. There's no like dirty sex scenes or anything like that.
No.
Like there's like nothing of that nature.
No.
but I think that it was good. I enjoyed it. And in that same vein, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder came to
Yes.
mind as just a fun read if you're looking for a series. And they did make that into a TV show.
Did they?
Yeah, I think it's on
Oh
Netflix
yeah, I think I did hear about that.
because I
Okay,
watched
yeah.
it and I enjoyed it. That's another series that I enjoyed the whole thing. I think you have said that you liked the
I liked the first
first
one,
one.
and then I read the second, and it was kind of too depressing. I don't remember if I read the third one. I don't think I did. I did special order because, she's British, and I special ordered this little book that like she released only in the UK and had to pay a fortune for it. And then I
Way too
never read
much.
it. Yeah, it's fine. I have it. So yeah, but I agree. The first one especially is just amazing. It's so good.
And that was one that you just said, she's British, the author's British. I had really thought that it took place in America. And then the TV show, they have British accents and they're British. And I'm like, what? So it
Okay.
was one of those that totally
Yes.
took me off. And I was like, wait a minute, where did this take place? Like, I
No,
need
it
to think
does.
about this.
No, there's an American version and a British version, kind of like the Harry Potters.
Okay.
And I mean, obviously in Harry Potter, it still takes place in the UK, but ours takes place in the US. But you might have noticed there are a few times where she uses words that we wouldn't necessarily, that's not how we would say it. And like little things, like for example, when they're like, I don't know if this was in that one, but like so and so is in hospital instead of in the
Okay.
hospital.
Right.
There are little things that not all of them were caught. So it makes sense then, I guess, that the show did take place there. And it's kind of like that with Harlan Coben books because a lot of his books have been adapted in the UK. And so then they get changed from the US to the UK. And I actually kind of like that. It made it kind of fun.
Which
But,
he's on my list too. Like I
ooh,
had just put him down in general because I think his books they're technically domestic thrillers, I think is
I
what they
was
had said.
wondering, I was like, what would we call those?
When I googled it, I was like, what are Harlan Coben books?
Hmm.
But they're kind of mystery thriller, but there's several layers to it. And one
Hmm.
of my favorite things is they've adapted them to Netflix. Like there's several books that have been adapted. And I think
Hmm.
I first discovered it, maybe they just started it in 2020, but that was like COVID era. I've only read a few of his books, but
Hmm.
I have watched all of the Netflix miniseries. And there's
Okay,
even
so
some that are in different languages.
oh, I know. I've watched those. I think Emily got it. Well, I don't know if it was I remember them seeing The Stranger and like The Stranger watching that one and that one was popular in 2020. And then like I think it might have been Emily that was like, "Oh my gosh, there are more." And so we watched some more. And I need to look every few months I look because I want to rewatch The Five, which was my favorite. And it was not produced by Netflix. And so they took it off and it was like on one of those other like you have
Weird
to have
things. Yeah.
their cable version, so it's like $80 a month. I'm like, well, I don't want to watch it that badly, but I would like to rewatch that one because I've watched The Stranger twice. I don't know. I've watched some of I have not watched the most recent one. That's the only one that I haven't, but I need to because they're all so good.
They're fun. And then you can either read the book or watch the TV show because I think either
Hmm.
way works, honestly. And that
And
was
I will
like
be
2020. I would stay up to like 3 o'clock in the morning because I'm like, I have to know how this ends.
well, and I will say two of them that I've watched, I had read the books.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, it didn't feel redundant. This one of them, is it Fool Me Once? I think that one, because the twist is such a big deal, I would say either read it or watch it because that's the fun in his books. It's like you will think you know exactly what's happening and then he will reveal something that like was there in plain sight. Like we could have figured it out and we didn't. And so I love that because I did try to read The Stranger after watching the miniseries. And in the book, the stranger is a guy. And so I was like, oh, that doesn't work for me. It's just
Okay.
weird because I'm
Because you'd already
picturing,
pictured it and like you'd seen it.
yeah.
So yeah.
And it took place in Boston. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, no. So I tend to try not to, I mean, obviously, if ones I've read become adapted, that's fine. But
And those you can like I believe you can search on Netflix if you just go to the
mhm,
search feature and search for Harlan Coben,
mhm.
they'll all come up.
I believe so too. And there is one. that takes place at a summer camp. I watched that one. I'm looking it up. Harlan Coben, Netflix, summer camp. And we'll just see what it has. No, that's not it. I can't find it. Okay, let me see. 11 Harlan Coben shows to stream right now. We'll
Okay.
just go ahead and give you a list. Safe, that was a good one.
That was a good one. I did like that one.
The Woods, that's the one, The Woods, and it was in Polish. And yeah, part of it takes place at a summer camp. Yeah, that's the one. So that'd be a good one. The Innocent is the one that I don't think I've
I
seen
don't think I've
yet.
watched that one.
Gone for Good. I don't know if I've watched it, or I think I might have read it. Stay Close, or maybe Stay Close is the. No, I've done that one. Hold Tight, The Stranger, Fool Me Once, Missing You. That was a good one. Just One Look, Caught. I didn't even know all of these.
There's a
I
bunch,
got
and they keep like popping up every once in a while.
Yeah,
So
and I think that's where the benefit has been that now that like in the US it's popular, so now
Mhm.
we don't just have like the UK and other like there's a Spanish one. I think The Innocent is in Spanish.
Hmm.
I like that now. So it's like, okay, UK, you go ahead and produce one for us. Okay, Netflix, you get your Netflix US, and then we'll just have a bunch come out.
And I think so. He made a deal with Netflix,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not sure how long the deal lasts, but I know it was for a set amount of shows. So
hmm
I'm not sure if he's reached that yet, but I've enjoyed all of them that have come out. He's still writing
Yeah.
books. I mean, he's one of those that I don't even know how many books he's written, but
I will Google it because now I'm curious.
we have an exact number. But it's
Okay.
definitely, he's one that every time I read one of his books, I think I've only read like 4 or 5. I enjoy them. They're not, I won't say they're like super smarty pants books. Like
Mm-mm.
you don't have to put a lot of thought into them. And that's why I think they're perfect for summer because sometimes in
Right.
summer I don't want to put a lot of thought into my books. I don't want to read
Yeah.
those really heavy books
No.
that, make me think. I want to not think.
Just give me a number. He has a list on his website.
Okay.
39.
Wow. So he's
Yeah.
written 39 books. That's a lot of
Yes.
books.
That is a lot of books.
Because
Yeah.
he's not, I don't think he's really that old either.
I don't
Like
think
he's
so
older,
either.
but not
But not like
80.
super old. No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Craziness. All right. Well, let's see here. This is one that maybe you've heard of, maybe not. I don't know. It is a romance series. There are 4 of them because I went and looked. I've only read the first 3, and they're about the Ren Fair. And it's the Well Met series. And so the first one is called Well Met, the second one is Well Played, and the third one is Well Matched. And I should have put what the fourth one is, but I did not.
So you'll just have to go look that up, readers or
You'll just
listeners.
have to go look that up. But when I looked through them on Goodreads, like the first one I only gave 3 stars, but the other 2, I think I gave 4 stars. And it was cute. The main love interest guys all worked for the Ren Fair in some capacity. And then these women didn't necessarily, and some of them did come in to work a little bit just for fun and things like that. And so they were really cute from what I remember.
I feel like I have seen Well Met several times and almost gotten it and haven't. So
Yeah.
maybe that'll get put on my list.
Yeah, it is really cute. Their covers are really cute and bright colors. And so if you have any interest in that, plus it does kind of go along with so I am not big into the Ren Fair, but my ex-boyfriend is. And so I have been like followed a little bit. I saw that King George of one of the Renaissance festivals, the one that's crazy.
So
Like
is that popular outside of Texas? I know Ren fairs in general are, but do people know about the King George? Like there was a documentary or something about it,
there
wasn't
was
there?
a documentary.
Okay.
I am not sure. I am in a Facebook group and there are like 30,000 people in it. So I don't know because it is a wild one. It is for adults. It does not sound like you would take your family to this. I mean, maybe during the day, but a lot of people camp out and it's the after hours things that
Or they
you
get
hear
down and
about
dirty.
when they get down and dirty. And in the Facebook, like this will cross my newsfeed. I got put in it because he wanted me to see like, oh, and he doesn't necessarily go for that. Like he likes to dress up and do all of that. And we never ended up going, but I'm in that group. And so then someone would be like, anyone know grandma here? She passed out outside of my tent. And it's like, oh my gosh, like that sounds terrifying to
And
me.
I feel
That's
like
like,
they
oh
do
my
that
gosh.
for Burning Man.
Oh yeah, that does sound like
Because they'll,
Burning
they'll
Man.
have like people that are
Yes.
toasted and they'll be like, hey, do you know this person?
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone come get them.
No, for real. And so those are my two experiences with the Red Fair. These
Yes.
books are like family friendly versions. Well, I mean, okay, they are romance novels.
Mhm.
I don't think that they are closed door, but they're not like crazy. Like they're rom-coms. And the one that they work at sounds like it's much more geared towards family.
Okay. Yeah, we've been to the Scarborough Renaissance
Is
Festival.
that what I'm thinking of? That's what I'm thinking
Yeah,
of.
that's
That's
the one that's
nearby.
in, is it Waxahachie, Waxahachie? I don't know.
Okay.
But
Well, you're not from here. It is Waxahachie.
I've always pronounced it Waxahachie. It's such a weird word, but it's fun to say.
Do you also call Saxy something weird?
Saxy?
Like, yeah, SACHSE. You're like sachet, or I've heard weird stuff.
Well, we used to, so I lived in Spokane and people would call it Spokane.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, no. And what they're really known for is Gonzaga basketball.
Okay.
And people, all the announcers would be like, and there's Spokane's team. And we're like, no, Spokane.
Okay.
But you were saying that those books weren't
Yeah, they're more
necessarily dirty.
no,
And my immediately thought was, oh, so not Tessa Bailey.
no, not. I mean, I think they are open door, but no, not Tessa Bailey. Although my next one on my list is a Tessa Bailey, and do you
I
know
have
which one
Tessa
it
Bailey
is?
on my list too.
Is it? It happened one summer because
It
that.
is. And Hook, Line, and Sinker, which is the duology for that series.
Yes. And so I do want to read because I love, this is what made me read it, what it says on Goodreads, and this is how it was advertised to me, and this is totally why I read it. A Schitt's Creek inspired rom-com about a Hollywood it girl who is cut off from her wealthy family and exiled to a small Pacific Northwest beach town where she butts heads with a surly, sexy local who thinks she doesn't belong. That sold me, the
I
Schitt's
think,
Creek.
I can't remember if you had told me about it or if I just saw the
Emily,
same Schitt's Creek.
Emily told us about it, I'm pretty sure. Because I think this is
Really?
one of the,
Emily read that.
yeah, but I think that's why,
Okay.
because it
I'm
had
like,
that.
I'm surprised. Emily doesn't usually do the
No,
romance.
I know. And I think that description made her be like, okay, maybe I'm going to do it. And then she told us about it. Pretty sure.
And that was the first Tessa Bailey book that I had ever read, was It Happened One Summer. And then I followed it up with Hook, Line, and Sinker. And it's about two sisters. So yes, the one sister does get cut off and the other sister kind of just goes along for the fun. They're both, I thought, really good books. I enjoyed them. They're different, even though they involve the same set of sisters, and then the guys that they meet are best friends, I think. They're really good friends either way.
I think so, yeah.
But they're different enough, the characters are different enough that it felt like a new book, which was nice. And then Tessa Bailey in general, like her books are just fun. They are spicy. Just putting that out there. There was some spice. We read
that trilogy,
Fangirl Down, and gosh, no, I can't even remember.
Au Pair Affair and Dream Girl Drama. Now, Dream Girl Drama is heavy.
And it was not very good, in my opinion.
Right.
So maybe skip that one. But
skip that one.
The other two were really fun.
They were.
And I think that they're fun, but they do have the spice level in there. Maybe it won't be for you, the spice, but you can kind of skim those parts, because there were some things that I was like, yeah, that's not my thing. I'm going to bypass that.
Yeah, no.
Skip that 2 times to read that.
Yeah,
but,
no thanks.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to enjoy with those. And they're kind of silly, but they're not too silly. Like, there's still some depth to them, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so another one, I'm going to go with another series. And I don't know that any of it takes place in summer, but I read it in summer, and that is Pretty Little Liars. However, you have to stop after book 8. Book 8 it's wrapped up beautifully at the end, and then the show came out. And so then she got paid to put out more books. And I read a couple after that, and it just was not good. It had like the perfect chef's kiss ending for the series. And I read them whenever the show was coming out. I read them that summer because I was like, oh, I'm going to watch the show. And I did watch it for a few seasons. I don't remember where I ended up, but it obviously it's very different. But the books are so good and it like crazy enough to be but also believable, whereas I feel like what I remember from the show, some of it just was not like when she kept going, it just was like, but they're all short.
I
They have
haven't
really
read the
bright
books
colors.
or watched the TV show.
Yeah.
So I've
They're
missed out on both of those.
they're cute, and the books like you can get like 4 book set of the first four, four of the second four, and then stop there. But they're all brightly colored and cute. I reread them a couple. It was after I moved here, so sometime in the last 5 years, I reread them. It might have been during COVID, and I think I reread them in summer too because it was fun. So I recommend those. They're also, which if you don't know what that is, because I realize I'm just talking about this, I feel like everyone knows about Pretty Little Liars, but in case you don't, there's this group of friends that are, I don't know if they're freshmen, it's the end of their freshman year of high school, I think, and it's summer, end of 8th grade. And in the middle of the night, their friend goes missing and they don't know what happened. And so then it picks up a year later after this year. Like one friend had spent a year in Iceland with her family because her dad's like a college professor. Then the others were still there getting like they kind of all went their separate ways. And then they start getting text messages from A that starts, kind of blackmailing them with secrets. That's kind of how the premise starts. And then Allison is the girl. And I believe it's in the first book, like her body is found. And so then they're like, okay, wait, what's going on? And anyway, so it's very intriguing. And I will say she has another series that I think was adapted into a show briefly. And now I can't think of what it was called, but I'll look it up. But the premise was this girl was like a lookalike for another girl. And I think I don't remember if they decide she was like, I don't remember if she like takes over her life or whatnot, and she's trying to figure out what happened. I cannot believe The Lying Game. That's what it was called, The Lying Game. And that one I read on, if anyone briefly remembers, Oyster, which was like a Netflix for books. And it was for ebooks. And I read all of them on that. And then you could get it for free. Like if you sent an invite to a friend and they signed up, even if they signed up for the free version just to check it out, you got a month free. So I never had to pay for it. And then it went under. So I can't imagine why it
Wonder
went
why it
under.
went under.
But I read them all on there and they also were really good. They were different. But yeah, so there's a couple that I associate with summer because I read them in summer. And like you said, I think YA is a really good category for summer.
It's a fun category, honestly. My next one isn't YA, but this is like midlife women. And
Perfect.
this author, Camille Pagan, it's Camille Pagan, however you pronounce that. I think she does a really good job of encapsulating mid 30s to mid 40s.
Ooh.
She really does. The first book I read, I didn't even put it on here because it's really kind of heavy.
Okay.
But after I read, because I loved it, but I was like, that's heavy. And that was a book that I read during summer. And then I read all of these during summer.
Okay.
So Life and Other Near-Death Experiences was like her big one. And
Okay.
in that one, a woman goes and I can't remember if she finds out she has cancer or she finds out that she might have cancer. I can't remember which one it is, but they want to do some more follow-up work. And so she goes home and goes to go tell her husband she has cancer. And he says, I'm gay. So he wants a divorce. So then she's like having a midlife crisis because she's just overwhelmed. And so she drops everything, kind of leaves the map behind and goes to this remote island. I want to say it's off of Puerto Rico. But she kind of is basically starting her life over. And she's like, I'm just going to live here for a while and see what happens. And it turns out to be the best thing that ever happened to her. And the near-death experiences give her life. So it's like a heartwarming love story, but it was really fun. And then a lot of hers do have to do with people that have been in long-term relationships, whether it is a marriage or just a long-term romantic relationship. So you kind of have both of those. Woman last seen in her 30s, if I'm remembering right. That one was about a woman who she's older, but she basically is getting divorced and going through life and she feels like she's not seen anymore. And I think a lot of books talk about that. Like after you hit a certain age, people kind of gloss by you. You're not old enough to be a grandmother, but you're not young and cute. And, they're not going to walk you across the street because you're old, but they're also not going to help you because you're super cute. So kind of the invisibility of it and coming out of her shell. And then This Won't End Well is about a girl who is, at least she's a scientist, and she comes home and basically is starting over life because just life has happened to her and she has to start fresh. And everything, she just imagines that it's not going to go well. So they're all fun books. She has a
Very
lot
cool.
of really good books. She was my favorite author for several years.
Very cool.
And I don't think she's written anything recent, at least that I know of. But she did do a follow-up to Life and Other Near-Death Experiences. So if you want to read that, and then you can read the follow-up book, it kind of gives like a, 10 years later peek into that lady's life. So
Interesting.
but those were fun.
All right, I'm going to go back to another YA one that's
Okay.
not on my list, but also by Jenny Han, who did this summer.
Oh,
I
yeah.
Turned Pretty, and then she also did To All the Boys I Loved Before.
I'm like, that one I know. I knew Jenny Han from that.
Yeah, and those are both very cute, lighthearted, that you can do. But she has another one that she did with another author that any chance I get to bring it up, I'm going to bring it up. And it's called the Burn for Burn trilogy. And I read those, I think all three of them in like 2 days. And this was before like COVID. This was before I was reading multiple books in a day typically. And the story of this one, which I had it on here and then I deleted it because I was like, well, it doesn't take place at summer. But basically, I think it starts summer before senior year, or like the week before school starts their senior year. And there's two friends that have kind of grown apart. And then there's a new girl. And there's kind of one girl in between. Like she hangs out with this one girl, like her friend that they've kind of grown apart. Her friend is a little bit wilder than she is. And then this new girl, she hangs out with this new girl. And I can't remember if the other girl does or not, but it's about their senior year and just things that happen. And there's like a mystery and I don't know. It just is really good. So I read them real fast. So I'm going to say those.
I think there's something to books that have that little mystery aspect, whether it's a rom-com, romance, YA or whatever, but it has that mystery aspect to it that makes it fun to read during summer, honestly, because it keeps you reading and it keeps your attention.
I agree. And I'm going to give another one. This is not YA and it's not recent. It is Evil Under the Sun by Agatha Christie because I got to get her in here. So it's really funny because I only gave it 3 stars, but I think about this one a lot.
Okay.
And
interesting.
I do know there are multiple like iterations of it on, that you can find on the internet because like where there's like Hercule Poirot, it's one of his. So like if there was a show about that, this is one that might show up on there. And I think I own a version of it. I don't know. But here's what the premise is. The beautiful bronzed body of Arlena Stewart lay face down on the beach. But strangely, there was no sun and she was not sunbathing. She had been strangled. Ever since Arlena's arrival, the air had been thick with sexual tension. Each of the guests had a motive to kill her, but Hercule Poirot suspects that this apparent crime of passion conceals something much more evil. And I will say what I remember, one of the things that when he gave his final reveal was a big part, and I don't remember why. But I remember it, and it was such an interesting thing. That was one of those where Agatha Christie is great at like everything's there. You could have figured it out, but you will not. And anyway, it's one I think about a lot. But I also gave Death on the Nile 3 stars, and I don't think it's great, but I think about that one a lot too. I don't know why. But yeah, so if you want a good old Agatha Christie, that one. And of course, I always would recommend with that. And then There Were None because it's the best.
It's a classic. Saying. Yeah.
It's a classic. Yeah.
It's a classic for a reason. And I think Agatha Christie is a classic for a reason. And we always read one of her books in October because we do Agatha October. So they're always fun. I've discovered that I like the older books, not the older books. Okay. So the ones that were more recent rather than her older books. So the ones that were like her original couple,
not so
they're
good.
Okay, but they're not my favorite. But I like, is it The Murder of Roger Ackroyd?
Oh, that's
I
so
think I
crazy.
think I really liked that one. And then some of the more recent, because she had a long career that went into like the
She really
40s and
did.
50s.
Yes, she
So
did.
kind of
She
crazy.
did. It is.
And my next author is a domestic thriller author, Leanne Moriarty.
Oh, yes.
And if you haven't seen Big Little Lies on TV or read the book, go do so. I have to say, I think they made it a second season of the TV show. I don't know if I watched it because the book only covers the first season. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to keep it where it was. That's one of those that it follows three different women and kind
Hmm.
of what's going on behind the scenes that maybe you don't know about. The way that she unveils things is really well done. Her most recent book that she did was Here One Moment. And I think I've talked about that on here before, but it's about the lady who she gets on a plane and she stands up and she's like, I have a fortune for you. And she tells someone their fortune and like, you're going to die. It's um, age of death, cause of death is what she
Hmm.
says. And so she tells everybody on the plane the age that they're going to die and how they're going to die. And so then people get off the plane and it's them like, was she for
Yeah.
real? Was this fake? And it's kind of going into her past. It does some time jumping a little bit. But I thought that was really well done. My favorite book by Leanne Moriarty is The Husband's Secret.
Oh, I see. I don't remember anything about it, but I know that that's my favorite too.
And that one, she did such a great job of unraveling the mystery and it was so good. Like I loved that book and that's one that while I haven't reread it, it's one that I want to. And I know she has the TV show Nine Perfect Strangers with Nicole Kidman, and that just the second season just dropped. I wasn't a fan of that book. I watched like one
Okay.
episode, two episodes of the TV show. It has a lot of really good people in it, but I just could not get into it.
Okay.
Um,
So my friend Shannon,
mhm.
who says that she's Lena's bestie and Lena just doesn't know
Hi,
it yet.
Shannon, my new bestie.
So she said that she watched it and she's just started the second season and she thinks the second season is even better.
Okay.
So so it does
And
make
maybe I
me
need to
want.
give it a try if my bestie is telling me.
I know if your reader bestie over in the UK is saying so,
Maybe I
then
should.
I
I
know maybe
love
we
her
both should.
books and I think Nine Perfect Strangers was the only one that I was like, I'm kind of 50-50 on this one. But all of
Okay.
her books, I mean, she did one that was What Alice Forgot about a woman who gets amnesia and she's
Mm-hmm.
on the brink of having a divorce with her husband and then she forgets the last 10 years. So she forgets about her children when she what she remembers is that she had just gotten married and she's really in love. And then kind of like what would happen if you forgot the last 10 years of your life?
Right? Oh
A
my
lot
gosh. Can you
happens,
imagine?
right? So
Yeah.
those were fun reads. And in that same vein, because Leanne Moriarty is an Australian writer,
Mm-hmm.
and Sally Hepworth is an Australian writer and also writes domestic thrillers. And she has a lot of really good books too. The Good Sister, The Mother in Law, Darling Girls was the
Oh,
one that I think just came
loved
out
it.
last year. And that's
Yeah.
when I first met Catherine Center
Mm-hmm.
because she was the one interviewing Sally Hepworth. So that was just like, talk about a fun
Yes, I'm
book
so
event
jealous. Oh my
because
gosh.
Catherine Center is just a sweetheart, and Sally Hepworth, she is just an amazing, like she's so cute and petite, and she said that she gets sent fashion clothes now because
Really?
people will send her clothes, and so she's like modeling clothes, and of course
Oh,
she
that's
looks
fun.
super cute, but she came into ours with a Bucky's the Beaver onesie because they had stopped at Bucky's.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love that. That's so funny.
So
But yeah, I love I know I've read a few of hers. I can't or
mhm,
at least a couple, but I do know Darling Girls. Oh my gosh. I
mhm.
remember I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it, loved it, loved it.
I think The Mother-in-Law was probably one of my favorites, and The Good Sister. Those were both
Okay.
high up there. She had one that was,
Was it The Survivors? Did she do that one?
I don't remember that one. I know
I
she did
don't
The
know.
Soulmates,
The
and
Soulmate. I think that's I'm getting confused. I think I read that one.
I can't remember if I liked that one or not. And
I
there was
don't think
another
I
one that was The Younger Wife, and that one was so-so. But she does a really good job of having there's usually a larger cast of characters.
Mhm.
So you're following like five or six people. but she does a really good job of helping you keep track of people and who, like, what's happening to who. Because I have a hard time with audio of listening and keeping track of who's doing what. But she does a really good job. Usually there's a couple of sisters, or it's a lot of family. I mean, it's a domestic thriller. So there's family drama, there's family dynamics at play. The mother-in-law is a good example of that, and the good sister, of where they both have
Okay,
just
yeah,
a lot of stuff happening.
okay, so yes, I read The Soulmate and only gave it 3 stars. That's the only other one. But yeah, so you mentioned the good sister, the mother-in-law, the younger wife is one. So I'm like, it looks like she has a bunch. So I'm like, okay, I
And
gotta.
I believe some of her books have only been released in Australia and not made
Okay,
it across the
over here.
pond. I don't know if they still call it across the pond if it's
But I
Australia.
think that, yeah, I don't know if it's from Australia, if it's across the pond. I know like
Yeah.
the UK is and
Yeah.
Europe. I don't know.
Who knows?
Whatever. We can say it across. It's just across a different pond.
A different pond.
It's fine.
But I really enjoy her books,
Or
and she's just a
this
lovely
side
person.
of, here we go. Maybe they haven't made it this side of the equator.
There you go. Now
We
you're
found
talking.
it.
And I never want to go. I used to always want to go to Australia. The
I
whole
know,
going to the
no.
barrier reef. I wanted to see koalas and kangaroos. And
Koalas all have chlamydia and kangaroos are evil. And this is coming from someone who went to Austin College. Go Roos! But kangaroos are not nice. And
they're
koalas
not.
all
I've
have
seen videos
chlamydia.
of them like drowning, like enticing dogs to come out and then drowning them. Like, I haven't
Yes.
watched a dog get drowned, but I've heard that's what they do. There's spiders and snakes and
Yep, nope.
just nope. Big pass. Plus, while going to the Great Barrier Reef sounds really cool, I don't like swimming with fish.
So yeah, I can't believe. Yeah, no, that is
That's
what would
not really
happen.
my thing. So the closest I'll get is reading Leanne Moriarty and Sally Hepworth books, and I'm okay with that.
Yes. And you read The Thornbirds.
I did read the Thornbirds. Did not like the Thornbirds.
I loved it. And maybe it's because I read it in the 90s. I don't know.
I'm sorry, but there was a teenager who, I don't know, there's like a priest, and he follows the teenager for when she's a little kid and then falls in. No, thank you.
I know
There's
it is
enough of that in
disturbing,
real life.
but it's so good.
It's not sexy. It's not cute.
I know that part isn't, but the whole family saga and sometime we're going to do an episode on mini series of books, especially ones from the 80s, and that one has an amazing mini series.
And I honestly think that episode is going to be you talking, and
It'll be
maybe
me
you'll have
talking
to tell me like, "Hey, go watch this before."
Yeah. I don't know. And I mean, maybe that one we get Emily on here because I think we have a bunch of like, or it could just not even just be based on books. It could just be amazing miniseries. We could do that from the 80s and 90s because you got some of those too.
Yes.
And I will talk about the Thornbirds.
I'll talk about The Stand and how amazing
There we
it was
go.
as a miniseries.
All
right.
right. Do you have any more?
I think my only other two that I really had was Abby Jimenez, because she has a book called Just for the Summer, even though it's kind of heavy. It does take place in the summer.
Y'all have not sold me on that in our group text. Or Allie did it, and then she spoiled it, which, by the way, I already don't remember.
Wait,
she
no,
felt so
you're
bad.
talking about Not Just for the Summer.
Oh, never mind. Different one.
Say You'll Remember Me, which
that one.
Say You'll Remember Me is about Alzheimer's, and
yeah,
it's heavy. But
okay, so
that's
never
kind
mind.
of why
Disregard.
I like Abby Jimenez, is because she combines the romance with the life. Like, it has actual substance to it, and it's, they're going to get a happy ever after because it's a romance book. Like, that's coming. While they're still having this heavy stuff, they're still going to get a happy ever after. They're still going to have that moment. And I think Catherine Center does that as well.
Yeah.
So she ends up with a happy ever after that's fun to read during the summer. I think that's why her books come out in May, so that
that makes sense.
You have a good summer read. And I don't think we can end the episode without talking about Jenny Hale, who is going to
Holly
come
Martin
on here.
Yeah,
we're going to be recording with her in the next couple of weeks, but she has just a ton of summer books. I think you mostly know her as a Christmas writer.
So there was a point where I was all caught up and had read every book that she had put out. And I think I'm like 3 or 4 books behind now. But I have read one, two, three, four. I've read 5 of her summer books. So
Okay.
I read Summer at Buttercup Beach, A Barefoot Summer, Summer by the Sea, Summer at Oyster Bay, and The Summer House, which I happened to win in a drawing on Instagram. I won a signed copy of it in
Fun.
2017. So pretty, or 2018, somewhere around there. So pretty cool. And when I looked at Goodreads to see, I think I gave all of these 5 stars. So while I might not remember, The Summer House, I'm pretty sure was a house being fixed up to be sold, like I think for like a relative, which kind of goes with some of the Christmas ones that she's written, but it's at the beach, and that's about all that I remember.
So I've only read her Christmas books, but she's sending us 2 of her newest beach reads. So I'm very excited to go in that direction because I love her Christmas books. You had mentioned her to me way back when we started this podcast, and we've been trying to interview her in December for her Christmas books. And then we realized that December is crazy, just like May is crazy. So we moved it to the summer so that we had a little bit more free time. So I have read several of her Christmas books, but now I need to go read summer books. Like I said, I have some books to read.
Yeah, me too.
I need to get
Me
reading.
too. And kind of along a similar, which I will say all of hers are closed door. They are sweet rom-coms. And then Holly Martin,
Yes.
who we had on, she also has some summer books. She does a lot of trilogies where they might take place different seasons, and they all are like, they're characters that you see across the books, but they all really are standalone. So she had the one that I've only read one of them, and it was Sunrise over Sapphire Bay, and I don't remember anything about it, but it was a few years ago. And I do know that, like, when we talk to her, she does that intentionally so that you get to see characters, but it doesn't spoil because everyone's getting their happy ending at the end of the book. So even if you read the some background character story later, because I've read out of order, it doesn't really mess with the story. So yeah. But I have a list of honorable mentions if you don't have any more.
I don't have any more, so fire it away.
Beach Read by Emily Henry.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry.
Which I did not like, but I loved Book Lovers, which
Yes,
was on my list, actually. I forgot to mention that.
Yes, Book Lovers. So basically, Emily Henry. Now, there's at least one that came out 2 years ago, and I have never had more people tell me not to read a book because of the season of life that I was in, as that, like, random people, like, from my life, because I would post, at the time I was reading a lot of romance. And so, and rom-coms. So when I put it, like, I would even post, I think on Facebook, like, here's, like, each month, like, okay, I read, book 100 to 120, and they'd be listed. I had so many people reach out. I don't remember which book it is, but I'm guessing there was some sort of infidelity or divorce, because everyone, I don't even remember which one, but like my mom was like, you're going to want to skip this one for a while. And I'm telling you, I had at least 4 other people reach out and tell me, don't read it right now.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you to anyone if that was you, like, taking care of me, knowing that my heart probably could not have handled it. All right, so some honorable mentions: Firefly Lane, because a lot does take place in summer. To Kill a Mockingbird takes place in summer. Circling the Sun / Out of Africa. So it's funny, I did not realize I was almost at the end of Out of Africa when I stopped reading it years ago. I didn't realize it was a 2-book thing, and I had it on my shelf, and I was looking, I was like, oh my gosh, I only had like 2 chapters left. Anyway, so Out of Africa, if you don't know the story of that one, it is based on, I think these are both based on a true story of like a pilot, and this takes place maybe in Australia too. I don't know. Anyway, so Circling the Sun and Out of Africa, they're about the two of the different love interests of the same man. And the movie has Meryl Streep and Robert Redford. Circling the Sun is about the woman he has an affair with, or not an affair, because I don't think he's married, but like who he's with after Meryl Streep's character. Then I had The Thornbirds, Crazy Rich Asians, Where the Crawdads Sing, That Month in Tuscany. Some of these I've read and I don't remember anything about them. That's one. Beautiful Ruins, don't remember anything. How to Marry Keanu Reeves, The Guncle.
I was not a fan of How to Marry Keanu Reeves.
I know. I thought it was cute. But unfortunately, since Jason Momoa and
yes,
oh my gosh, they broke up.
Kravitz.
Yeah. So I'm like sad about that. Anyway, anything by Sarah Adams, which Sarah Adams is another rom-com writer, and her stories are closed door. She'll do trilogies and duologies where it's about like siblings or whatnot. And again, they can be standalone. But the ones I've read that are just offhand, the Off Limits Rule, The Match, The Temporary Roomie, I put Red, White, and Royal Blue, which is such
That
a
was a
cute
fun
book.
one.
And I think that is it for my honorable mention. So
You had
there
some
we
good
go.
ones on there.
Thank you. Thank you. I try. So, yeah.
Way to go. I hope we've given people some good ideas for books to read. And some of them, while they might be new, not a lot of them were. So those are things that you could probably find at your local library. So if you're taking your kids, if you have kids, or if you just want to go by yourself, because there's
Yeah.
100% support your local library,
Yes.
whether that's through audiobooks, ebooks, or just checking out a regular book, or your local bookstore, or just whatever's available to you. But the library probably has a lot of these, and you'd be able to check them out instantly. So you wouldn't have to have a wait, which is always nice.
Yep.
I have a love-hate relationship with waits because sometimes I'm like, I have nothing to read, so I need something that's available now. And I
Yeah.
love that on Libby I can do that. I can search, filter what's available now. But then I also usually have a wait list and it all comes due at once. Like, it's
Yep.
currently happening in my life.
Which I got Frederick Bachman's book again, and I sent
Again.
it back. I sent it back again for 2 weeks. I was like, give me 2 more weeks. I'm not ready yet. So yeah.
And that is, so we had said that we were reading Emma for May,
Yes.
but I think we're going to be talking about it in June, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
It is. It is.
And My Friends by Frederick Bachman is our June book. I feel like we should
Yes.
mention that because this is going to be releasing in June. So
Yes.
at some point we will talk about My Friends by Frederick Bachman.
Yes.
And I really wish we could have gone to go see him whenever he came to Dallas, but
I
we
know.
couldn't. Unfortunately, life
No.
got in the way. But I did have a friend that went, so I'm gonna
Oh
have
yeah.
to. My friend Anne, who went with us
Oh
to
yeah. To
not
all
the
the
Rip
bookstores. The Plot Twist book bar.
Plot Twist book bar. But I want to talk to her about what it was like to meet
Yeah.
him and talk with him.
That's really cool.
I think that we have a fun summer planned, so
We do.
don't go away. Keep
Yeah.
listening. And as always, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
TikTok. No, we're
then-
not on Twitter.
This is why LJ does the
Yeah.
social media and I
we're,
don't.
We're not on X and we're not on Twitter. We're on Facebook, Instagram.
But that's right, it's not called Twitter anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I might have gotten the username,
handle.
but we're not. Okay, so we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. So you can find us on those.
And we're also on Apple Podcast and Spotify. So however you want to watch us, if you watch us on YouTube, you could get to see our beautiful faces. So
Or Spotify.
That's a bonus. Yes, Spotify, apparently you can do that. I have not done that myself, but because I usually listen to podcasts in the car while I'm walking. So I'm typically
that does not stop me.
Watching.
No, I have it on. I have it on with the video while I'm driving. But it's funny because like I don't actually watch it. It just it defaults to that for me, and so I just don't change it.
You're watching a video while you're driving, LJ.
No. Although, some of the newer cars have where you can put like a movie on your main huge screen, I guess for the other people in the car. And I'm like, that freaks me out.
It's for the other people in the car. I'm putting that in quotes.
Right.
I don't know. The rule follower in me does not like that.
I know, but they didn't say we can't do that. I don't know.
You're not supposed to be looking at your a screen.
I know, but I'm just the maps on my phone or on the car. I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm not promoting unsafe driving, for the record. I actually I have anxiety. So like even without the normal like driving stress, I am worried about crashing all the time. Although I will say the combination of what I am on these days actually has been a huge stress reliever because I used to avoid ramps and now I don't have to avoid ramps. So there we go. But I still worry.
In Dallas, it's hard to avoid ramps.
It really is. They just are like, let's have another one. Like, why not? Let's combine more roads.
Let's put layer over layer over layer.
Yeah.
I remember moving here and being like, what the heck is happening?
And then let's have the railing only come like halfway up the car. So if they run into it, there's a higher risk of them flipping over.
You've thought about this.
I have thought about this. Hey, and you should have too. You're a 6 on the Enneagram. Aren't you supposed to have all the contingencies of everything that could go wrong?
I do. So we were in a car accident when Piper was like 7 days old, 9 days
Oh
old.
my gosh.
And my postpartum anxiety was, we're going to get into a car accident.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That was like, it actually happened, but
Yeah.
like I was imagining it was going to be much worse. Someone had T-boned us. They T-boned the car that they ran a red light and then hit the car next to us and then hit us as well. Like they just kept going. But I had like super bad anxiety about that. And I still have anxiety about driving. And I think driving in Dallas has helped a little bit with that because everybody's crazy.
Everybody's crazy. It's true. Well, and I want to tell you, so my cousin Leslie, with her first child, I believe she was in like a fender bender when he was less than 2 weeks old. And so she's always made this personal rule that she will not drive the first 2 weeks after her child is born. And she's like, it's a self-care thing. You're going to be stressed. You're going to be sleep deprived and you're healing, which you're still healing after 2 weeks. But this is not because she's given birth like the traditional route, not a C-section anytime. So she's not coming home from the hospital on crazy meds, that are dangerous to drive with. But she just made that her personal rule. And I think I would, if that happened to me, yeah, I would be freaking out too. So
Derek was driving with our car accident. So, but that, again, it wasn't our fault. It was just, yeah. But we did spend like 12 hours at the emergency room afterwards because they kept asking me, they're like, okay, so has her personality changed? I'm like, she's 7 days old. She doesn't have a personality.
Like, what do you mean? Right? Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so that was our fun because we had both kids in the car. We were coming back from a child visit.
Oh gosh, of course you were.
So
my gosh.
Good times. And on that note, I hope you're not driving while we're talking about this. And if you are, I hope you're having a safe drive.
And that you're not watching, you're just listening.
Yes, 100%. Stay safe. Stay safe out there.
All right. Yeah, stay safe. All right.
All right. Bye. Until next time, friends. We'll see you later. Bye.
So thank you for listening to More Than a Book Club podcast. We are recorded and produced in McKinney, Texas.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.